Ce soir, à Benezra reçoit nul autre que James Blunt. Il est le premier artiste britannique à se trouver au sommet des palmarès en 10 ans avec la chanson You're Beautiful en 2006. Il a remporté plusieurs prix, dont 2 Brit Awards, 2 World Music Awards et 2 MTV Awards. Il a vendu plus de 16 millions de disques à travers la planète. Il est de retour avec un 3e album qui porte le titre Some Kind of Trouble. On aimerait le souhaiter la bienvenue. Welcome you, Troublemaker James Blunt. There you go.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup d'être ici avec nous. Nous sommes ravis de t'accueillir ici au Québec. How are you doing?
Yeah, really well. It's great to be back.
It's really nice to have you. I think you know that you're loved here. I'm not telling you anything new, but you were saying that you feel good when you come.
Yeah, I mean, the response here has been absolutely phenomenal, and particularly in the French-speaking part of Canada, and for that I'm really grateful.
We've got good taste, James, just in case someone hasn't told you.
I don't know if that's true, but I'm glad for the...
taste.
I'm glad that taste includes me. I'm over the moon, and it's wonderful to be here.
It's a 3rd album for you. I was briefly saying in the intro, though I'm sure you picked up pieces, that you've sold 16 million albums. I mean, the career, the ascension and the career has been astronomical, to say the least. I mean, from day one, the first album comes out, it's like success. But before that, I mean, there's a lot in your personality that leads me to believe that there was no other option for you, because you come from a family where, military family, your dad, is a colonel, you went into the army. I was wondering, though, were you given a choice about going into the army, or was just assumed that that's what you were going to do?
Yeah, I mean, my father would argue that I had a choice. But at the same time, there was definite pressure for me to join the army. I think it's because it was a thing that he knew. And
right.
like, many parents, they open the doors that they understand and they know. And so my father introduced me to the army. Mm-hmm. And then at the same time, they paid for my schooling. The army subsidized my schooling and my education. And so I owed them 4 years. But, I wasn't ready to do anything else, and I was very happy to do that. And I'm really glad for the education that the army gave me, in the outside world. I worked for 6 months in Canada. In Alberta.
Isn't that amazing?
Which was, one of the best experiences I can possibly remember. Out in the open, I slept under the stars for 6 months, and I could see the northern lights and wolves and moose run by, and I was really lucky to do that.
In turn, because of the army and what you did in the army, you've also had a chance to educate others. I mean, you became the musician that you wanted to become, but you didn't leave that behind, and I want to talk about that a little bit in the interview, but also about, how you grew up and what the family values were. But just in case you've forgotten what's happened to you in the last few years, take a look at this footage, okay? Here you go. James Blunt est né à Tidworth, une ville au sud-ouest de l'Angleterre.
Let me show you around the vehicle.
Issu d'une famille de militaires, il s'engage dans l'armée britannique et atteint le grade de capitaine. Il quitte l'armée en 2002 pour se consacrer pleinement à sa passion, la musique.
If you don't go straight into music, you have to get yourself a job at some stage. And I happened to get a job in the army. It's because they paid for university for my fees, my tuition fees. But it was just a job, and I have a much better one now.
Il enregistre son premier album en 2004, Back to Bedlam, s'écoule à plusieurs millions d'exemplaires.
You're beautiful. You're beautiful.
The winner of the 2006 MTV Moon Man for Best Male Video is... You're beautiful, James Blunt.
2 ans plus tard, il remporte un trophée MTV Video Music Award pour le clip de la chanson You're Beautiful.
And thank you for you, the people and the fans. I'll see you soon. You take care. And I'll race you to the bar.
Soldiers, please welcome the unique, the fantastic talent that is James Blunt.
En 2006, il retourne au Kosovo, cette fois en tant que chanteur.
So I have been looking out for you. I don't know if you can notice. It's something I've never stopped doing since I left the army. While I'm keeping time in a song, I permanently start marching as I'm playing. It's the one thing they comment in the reviews. He hasn't left the army, he still marches. On my first album, they said that I had the #1 song played at people's weddings in Britain. It was You're Beautiful, obviously. I didn't know that chart existed. But and they also said that I have the #1 funeral song in Goodbye My Lover.
So the question here is what to do with my new album, with all the lost souls, where to go, and so I've been trying to cover things like bar mitzvahs and christenings. And so here might be a useful song for you. This, I think, would be good for divorces. It's called I'll Take Everything.
All the Lost Souls, son deuxième album sort en 2007. Il se hisse au numéro 1 des palmarès dès la première semaine.
And I'll take everything. In this life.
En 2010, son troisième album à saveur pop-folk, Some Kind of Trouble, est lancé.
We're shining bright and I want you to know.
À Benezra reçoit le chanteur ayant vendu plus de 18 millions d'albums à travers le monde, James Blunt.
That you'll stay the night.
Pretty amazing. It's pretty awesome. I'm watching you watch yourself. It's amazing what you've done.
It's been an amazing journey.
It really has. And you're surprised at all the stuff because you can't remember everything. It's so fast-paced.
Yeah, I mean, incredible, really. I mean, when I came to Montreal the first time, I played in a tiny place called Café Campus.
Yes.
And then to a place called Metropolis, which was only, a tiny bit bigger. And then within a moment, we were in the Bell Centre. And yeah, it came as a great surprise to me.
It's quite incredible. I mean, I just want to go a little bit back to your childhood because, we were talking briefly about the fact that you went into the Army. But prior to that, I mean, you're the older brother. You have two younger sisters. I'm just wondering, what was the dream? Was the dream music? Was the dream something else? What did you want to do? What kind of a kid were you?
Yeah, my mum made me learn the piano from an early age, and I didn't really enjoy it very much.
No.
But she thought, it was I loved, the sport, and I understood that I needed, schooling. But music was an art that she thought was practical, and I
Really?
and
How wonderful of her.
she thought it was a thing that was important to do. I resented it at the time.
Yeah.
I'm kind of grateful for it now. But it wasn't until I was 14 I picked up an electric guitar. A guy at school taught me a few chords, and I started playing. And the beauty of the guitar was you could hide it away in your own room, and I was more free with it. Rather than learning the classical pieces of Mozart and Beethoven on the piano, I started playing stuff that I'd heard on the radio, and I started playing my own songs. And that moment, I said, you know what, this is what I want to do. I want to write songs and record them, and I want to be a musician. But it took me a few years to get to that first.
You took the guitar with you, though. You didn't leave it behind. I mean, you're packing your bag, you're going into the Army, they're shipping you off to Kosovo, and you're taking that guitar with you.
Yeah,
Come hell or high water.
everyone takes something in the Army, something to keep you going. Lots of people took a pack of cards or a football, and I took a guitar. It was slightly bigger, less practical. But I had a tank, and I strapped it to the outside of the tank. It was a delicate guitar, and I did want to put it inside, but there wasn't a room. I initially tried strapping soldiers to the outside so I could put the guitar in, and that didn't work. But yeah, it was, and and I didn't use it that often, but it was a nice relief when I did to pull out a guitar and
I imagine a source of comfort, not just for you, but for, the people that you meet, the other soldiers.
Yeah, and of course, soldiers, they need downtime and they need something to take their mind off what they're doing, and so I'd pull it out and I'd play. I wouldn't play Goodbye My Lover to a bunch of soldiers.
No,
it might
not
go
a good
down.
idea,
It might go
James.
down badly, but there were other songs. And,
Well, you wrote No Bravery, which is quite a song, and the most amazing part about that song is that you wrote it in 10 minutes, and it just talks about the horrendous sides of war and what it does to people and how it removes the souls, the harshness of it all.
Yeah, it took no imagination to write, and it doesn't just reflect the Kosovo War. It reflects to the wars that are going on now, and they're all pretty desperate and full of despair. Those places.
You said something very interesting, though. You said that you went into the Army knowing that the plan was to do music, and on your new album, you talk about the best laid plans often don't happen. You do talk about that. So your plan did come through, but I mean, did most of your plans come through?
Yeah, I have been incredibly lucky with it. I think I didn't plan for it to be exactly this way. My dad gave me really good advice when I left the Army. He said, you have a sensible job now, and to go into the music business is a gamble, because to be commercially successful is unlikely. There are millions, well, thousands of people rather, who are searching for record deals, and those who do get a record deal, only 1 in 10, I think, make, a living or a profit. The others make a loss, and I said, Dad, I don't expect to make a commercial success, but my success is measured in something different, and that is happiness and the pleasure I get from it. If I can enjoy myself doing music, then that's the success that I'm after.
And you have both now. You have the financial success and you have, I hope, having fun. But I mean, I'm sure that because of that kind of pressure, when you've sold 11 million copies of a first album and everybody's like, pushing you, you got to come up with another one, you got to do, you got to be even better. I mean, what was that like? Was it what you thought it would be like? Was it as much fun or a little tougher than you might have anticipated.
Yeah, I think my second album, you can tell that I had some darker moments. It's a darker, more reflective album. The title gives that away.
Yeah.
It's called All the Lost Souls.
Yeah.
So you can say that something's going on in the mind. But you know, it's been really great to close the door on that in many ways and be excited by what I do and have a sense of freedom. And this album, you can tell by the album cover with the flying child that there is innocence in it and there is excitement and a sense of freedom.
A rebirth, almost?
In many degrees, I feel, you know, a reinvigoration of what I'm doing, and so I love the album, and it's going to be really exciting to take this out on a tour.
Listen, the first two albums, I mean, you've described were a bit darker, but I mean, how could it be anything else considering what you had lived and really what you want to talk about? I know that most people have referred to this particular album, the third one, as, you know, optimistic. I refer to it as cautiously optimistic after listening to it, because you still talk about what's important. You still talk about love that doesn't work out. You talk about loss. You talk about things that are still important. Am I wrong in saying it's cautiously optimistic as opposed to just saying it's optimistic?
You know, it's one small step.
It's right. That's okay, but it's like you haven't left yourself totally behind on what you were talking about.
Absolutely. I think, you know, people will still, they're still the same songs that reflect in the way that people will have heard from me before, but there's definitely a sense of excitement. And I know that, you know, from the way that my band have approached this, and they've got excited about the tour that we've got coming up because they said, you know, these are going to be just great fun songs to play out live.
I want to talk to you about something that you said that I found was fascinating. You said that you missed the purity of being a soldier. Did you feel it was pure while you were doing it, or is it now in retrospect?
Yeah, I really do. I really do miss that sense because we dealt with things that were very simple, and we dealt with life and death. And you know, and that really focuses the mind there, and it was, you know, an incredible time. Whoever you dealt with, whichever armies I worked with, alongside the Canadian Army and the American Army, and from all across the world, and you know, you see the politics, but we all were still galvanised in life and death. And now I'm in the music business, which I love. Its heart, which is music. The communication I feel through music, I feel, is very special. But sometimes it is a little lost in image and perception. We focus on charts and units sold and sometimes forget about what it is, you know, the great communication of music behind it.
Had you not done what you did prior though to music, do you think that you might have fallen victim to that? You know, it's really, you're young, you know, attractive, very talented, the big head syndrome.
Yeah, I think it must be really hard for, you know, kids who get into this really early on and are then put on a pedestal, told they're role models when they still haven't had, you know, made all the mistakes that they need to make in life to grow. And so I feel fortunate that I had a little bit of that kind of time in the army to grow a little bit.
I want to talk about the songwriting process a little bit with you after this commercial break because it's fascinating. I listen to you speak. You're so well spoken, and you know, you really you say what you mean in a song. But you also have said that in real life, it's not always been so easy to just say what you really want to say. So I find that fascinating. We're going to just take a little listen to some of your music, and we're going to come back after this commercial break avec James Blunt. Mesdames et messieurs, restez avec nous. You're beautiful. On revient avec James Blunt après cette courte pause.
You're beautiful. You're beautiful, it's true. I saw your face in a crowded place.
and I see no bravery, no bravery in your eyes anymore, only sadness, and I see no bravery.
Great song that you wrote in Kosovo. And I was just wondering, James, because here you are, you're in the spotlight, you're traveling the world, you're, getting up on stages, singing the songs that you want to sing, the songs that you've written with all your heart. And I'm just wondering, as a soldier, though, obviously we don't do enough to reintegrate a soldier when he comes back home. And I'm just wondering, what did you feel when you came back home? Because that's when you decided that London was no longer the right place for you. It just didn't feel right for you there anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird watching that video because that was back in Kosovo. I went back out and played some soldiers and some Kosovo Albanians and some Serbs, and it brings back very sad memories, really, because a place of war is never going to have a happy memories as it was. I think it's an amazing time at the moment, isn't it, where we have lots of soldiers on operations around the world.